Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today I'm going to be doing a Utopia deck profile. So I'm really excited to see you guys because this deck just got some amazing new support out of Brothers of Legend. All sorts of new Utopia forms and some great main deck cards to help support this deck to go even further beyond. I love the way the deck plays, being able to summon out all sorts of crazy boss monsters to your side of the field, and being a great XZ based deck. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name in the description of a single video, getting a signed card to the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron, along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Astral Utopia. This card is one of the new cards that we got out of Brothers of Legend, and it helps the deck out a lot. It has the ability that if an XZ monster is on the field, you can just special summon this card from your hand, and you can send one other card from your hand or field to the graveyard to add an XZ on a mat, Zexal, or number, spell, or trap from your deck to your hand, which is a great effect just to give you searchers for the searchers and extenders. I love this card in this deck, and it is an absolute 3-up. We then play 2 copies of the Utopic Onomatopoeia. This card is really good in the deck as well because it has the ability that it's treated always as a Zubaba, Gagaga, Go-Go-Go, and Do-Do-Do card. And then during the main phase, you can special summon one each of a Zubaba, Gaga, Go-Go-Go, or Do-Do-Do monsters from your hand in defense position, and also you cannot special monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except for Xyz monsters, which is totally fine because that's pretty much all we're playing in the extra deck anyways. We then play 3 copies of the Zubaba Gagaga Coat. This card is a great 3-of because it just gives you so many extending plays that if you control a Zubaba or Gagaga monster, except another copy of itself, while this card is in your hand, you can special summon this card and then target one Go-Go-Go or Do-Do-Do monster in the graveyard and special summon it. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except for Xyz monsters, which a lot of our cards have that ability where they lock us into Xyz plays. And does anybody else notice that this card actually looks like Jotaro from JoJo? I love this card and it's just absolutely amazing. We then play 2 copies of Do-Do-Do Dwarf Go-Go-Go Gloves. You just need 2 copies of this card in this particular build. It combos very well with your Gagaga Cloak. It has the ability that during the main phase, you can special summon a Zubaba or a Gagaga monster from your hand. And if you control a Go-Go-Go or Do-Do-Do monster except another copy of itself, while this card's in the graveyard, you can special summon this card back, but banish it when it leaves the field. We then play a second copy of Gigantus. This card is just a 1-of in here because it combos well with your copies of your rock monsters in this deck, and it's easily searchable out of the deck as well. So you play this card as a 1-of in here just to give you a little bit of an extending play. We then play 3 copies of ZS, the Ascended Sage. I like this card as a 3-of in here because it has the ability to control no cards. You can special summon this card from your hand, and a Utopia XZ monster that's used this card as a material gains the ability that if this card is XZ summon, you can add a rank up magic normal spell from your deck to your hand, which is great just to give you an additional search in this particular deck. We then play just a single copy of Astral Karibo. I just think you need 1 of it. I've been playing around with 2, I've been playing around with 3, but I found that 1 is the best for me. It has the ability to reveal any number monster in your X deck and then special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, this card's level becomes the same as the rank of the monster that you reveal, which is pretty good to let you level manipulate this card into exactly what you need. It's always usually going to be a level 4 in this particular deck, but it does help out to give you that extra ability. It also has a little bit of a summoning restriction on it, but also for the rest, while this card is face up in the monster zone, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except for number XZ monsters, and you can only use each of the following effects of this card once per turn, and a number monster that's used this card as a material gains the ability that it cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects, which is a pretty good effect just to give it that buff. We then play some of the Zexal weapons. You play a single copy of ZW Tornado Bringer. Tornado Bringer is really neat because it has the ability to target a Utopia monster you control and equip this monster from your hand or your side of the field to that monster, and it gains 1300 attack. And then while this card is equipped to a monster, your opponent going to target that monster with card effects, and if the equipped monster would be destroy a battle, you can destroy this card instead, and you can only control 1 face-up version of this card. We then play a single copy of Lightning Blade as well. Lightning Blade lets you target a Utopia monster you control and equip with this card, and the monster gains 1200 attack. And while this card is equipped to that monster, the face-up ZW cards you control cannot be destroyed by opponent's card effects, which is pretty good. We then play a single copy of Pegasus Twin Saber. Pegasus Twin Saber is arguably the best one. I love this card in the deck because it has the ability that you can only control 1 of it, and if your opponent's life points are at least 2,000 higher than yours, you can special summon this card from your hand, and you can target a Utopia monster that you control and equip this card as it is an equip spell that gives it 1,000 additional attack points. And then once per turn, when the equipped monster that you control, or when an effect is activated, or excuse me, once per turn, when this card is equipped to a monster, you can negate a monster effect that your opponent's side of the field, which is a great effect just to give you an additional walking negation. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is basically just here to stop your opponent from touching the deck. 1 copy of Effect Veiler and a single copy of Nibiru, basically for the cross-out designator targets. They really help out in the deck a lot, especially since we're special summoning so much. The Nibiru is very handy, and the copy of Effect Veiler just stops our opponent even if we do hard draw it. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Reinforcements of the Army because we do play quite a few warrior monsters in this particular deck. So this card does come in quite handy in the deck to be able to give you an additional search. 1 copy of Called by the Grave because we do want to stop our opponent from hand trapping us. One of the new hyper rank up magic Utopic Force. This card is a great new support card for Utopia, and I love what it does. Lets you target a rank 9 or lower Utopia monster that you control to special summon 1 rank 10 or higher Utopia monster or Utopic XZ monster from your extra deck, which is a great effect just to let you rank all the way up into some of your high level rank 10 or higher Utopia monsters. It also has the ability that if an XZ monster is special summoned by this card's effect of a rank 10 or higher monster that's a Utopia or Utopic XZ monster while this card's in the graveyard, then you can target one of the monsters that was special summoned by that effect and attach this card as a material, which is pretty good just to give that monster an XZ material, because when you summon out a monster with the effect of an XZ monster's, usually it doesn't get materials, but this card gives it that material, which is pretty good. Play a single copy of Double or Nothing. Double or Nothing is great to search in this deck because it has the ability that what you're going to do basically is when your Utopia attacks, you drop this card and double the attack of the Utopia by negating that Utopia's attack, and then drop this card to double that monster's attack. You can go all the way up to like 10,000 attack points plus with this particular card, and it is a 1 card OTK with your Utopia double. We then play a single copy of XZ's Change Tactics. When a Utopia monster is XZ summoned to your side of the field, you can pay 500 life points to draw a card, which is pretty good for this deck. 1 copy of Zexal Construction. This card is a great search card in the deck that you get to reveal 1 card in your hand, and if you do add one of the following cards from your deck to your hand, then shuffle the revealed card into the deck. You can either grab a ZW, an SW monster, or a ZW monster, or a copy of a Zexal spell or trap, or a copy of a rank up magic spell or a rank down magic spell from your deck to your hand, which is pretty good. I just played as 1-of because this deck already has so many searchers that I felt like just a single copy of it was totally fine for this particular build. You can bump it up to more than 1. I considered bumping it up to 2, but with how tight the deck already is, I'm just playing it as a 1-of. We then play a single copy of Automata Pickup. This card is a great 3-of. I've bumped it up recently to 3 in this particular build, because it lets you activate it to add a automatic card from your deck to your hand, except another copy of itself, and then you can target 1 Zubaba, Gaga, Go-Go, or Dodo monster that you control, and all monsters you currently control become that levels of that monster on the field, which is pretty good to make all of your monsters level 4, so you can start XZ summoning, even though they already kind of are all level 4s. We then play a single copy of Onomatopoeia. This card is really good as a searcher, because you can only activate 1 of this card per turn, send a card from your hand to the graveyard, and then add up to 2 cards of the typing from your deck to your hand, but you can't add 2 of the same category. 1 Zubaba, Gaga, Go-Go, or Dodo monster. You can add 2 of those monsters from your deck to your hand, which is a pretty good effect. We then play 3 copies of Crossout Designator because we do not want to get hand trapped in this deck. It's a very helpful card in this particular build for the amount of searching that we have to drop it against an Ash Blossom. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps, because we actually play 2 traps in this particular build. So for the traps, we're going to be playing a single copy of the new Number Protection, which is a great counter trap, and a single copy of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is here as a cross-out designator target, and it's also helpful if you do draw into it with the Effect Veiler, because they're both basically do kind of the same thing. But the copy of the Number's Protection is a great counter trap, because when a spell trap or monster effect is activated, well, you control a number XZ, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. If a number XZ monster you control is destroy a battle or by card effect while this card's in the graveyard, you can set this card but banishment leaves the field, which is a great Infernity Barrier-ish card. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Utopia. I just feel like 2 is totally fine. I like the second one because it gives me a little bit more utility than just playing 1 copy of it, so I can go into Utopia Double, or even Utopia the Lightning, and in a situation where my opponent outs my board. Basically, this card has the ability that when a monster declares an attack, you can detach a material from this card, and then when you do, you're going to negate the attack, which is a great effect, but it it does have one downside, that if this card has no materials, you destroy this card if it's targeted for an attack, which is a little bit of a downside, but usually you're going to end the game with this card when you summon it. We then play a single copy of Utopia Double. Utopia Double is one of my favorite cards in the entire game, and what this card does is you detach a material from this card, add double or nothing from deck to hand, overlay on top of it a copy of the 39 Utopia. It comes out at 5,000, attack your opponent, detach a material, drop double or nothing, and go in for 10,000 normally. But there's also great ways with this card to search all sorts of different cards from the deck and help you out with a lot of different plays, because it has the ability to do quick effect, detach a material to add the double or nothing from deck to hand. Then immediately if this card resolves, you get to special summon a Utopia XZ monster to this card, except another copy of itself on top of it. So you can actually make this card into a bunch of different Utopia monsters, which is pretty good. But a single copy of S39 Utopia Prime. S39 Utopia Prime is a great stepping stone to climb into some of your other cards, which is why we play this card as a one of in this deck. One copy of Utopia the Lightning, because it can go up to 5,000 attack points and be able to help you OTK your opponent. Your opponent can activate anything when it attacks, which is super helpful. One of the newer cards, which is a ZS Utopic Sage. This card helps out a lot in this deck, and it has the ability to detach two materials in this card to have the ability to special summon a ZW or an SW monster from your deck. And also for the rest of the turn, you cannot attack with except for with number monsters, and you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck except for XZ monsters, and you can only use the effect of this card once per turn. And if a Utopia or Utopic XZ monster you control, whose original attribute is a light, would be destroyed by battle or by card effect, then you can manage this card from the graveyard instead, which is a pretty good effect, and it just helps you extend your plays a little bit. One copy of F-Zero Utopic Future, so we can climb into a copy of F-Zero Utopic Draco Future, which is a great boss monster for the deck as well, and is very easy to climb into this deck with a lot of the other cards that we're playing, especially cards like the ZS Utopic Sage. There's a lot of different cards in the deck that you can use for this particular setup. One copy of the new boss monster, which I absolutely love, is number 99 Utopia Dragonar. This card is a great boss monster for this deck, and has the ability that you get to quick effect, detach two materials from this card, special summon from your extra deck one number monster that has a material number between 1 and 100 in its name. This card is treated as a XZ summon, and the turn you activate this effect, other monster you control cannot attack directly, and also you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck except for XZ monsters, and when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can change the attack of the opponent's monster to 0, which is pretty good for this particular deck. We then play a single copy of the Ultimate Leo Utopia Ray. This card is a one of in the deck. I love this card. It's also one of the newer cards that we just got out of Brothers of Legend. It has the ability, this card is always treated as an S39 Utopia Ray, and once per turn, you can detach a material from this card to equip a ZW monster from your deck or extra deck to this card, or equip it to this card, which is pretty good to be able to equip that card to it, as if it was equipped by its monster effect. And the effects activated, has the ability that this effect, this card's activated effect cannot be negated, and then once per turn, when this card is equipped with a ZW monster quick effect, you can target effect monster opponent controls and negate its effect if you do half its attack, which is pretty good as a boss monster for this deck as well, because it's going to give you an additional negate, especially with your Pegasus. We then play a single copy of number 38. This card is really good because it negates spells, and it's easy to summon out with your copy of number 99. One copy of Abyss Dweller just to shut down graveyards. Gallant Granite, because you can search out your copy of Gigantus, and basically it turns into a one card XZ play and lets you summon out your copy of your F-Zero, which is pretty good. One copy of Tornado Dragon just to pop spells and tracks, and then a copy of AA Zeus, because AA Zeus is just really good in any XZ deck, and it's no exception for this deck. This card is a great one of in here because it's going to help you board wipe against your opponent. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. It's a really fun deck to play around with. I love the way that it plays. I love all of the new support. It helps out the deck a lot to play around with because we've got all sorts of new special summons for the deck, all sorts of new boss monsters, and it's an overall amazing deck. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.